We can watch that. We can watch the summary video if I can find it again. But we'll watch Wudi's video again because he has the notepad on the side that's easy to read. It's a good tech.
Write that down. Write that down.
All right, ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, hi everyone. We are recording live on stream right now. We just
Recording
posted
live
a
on
campfire
stream,
chat
buggies.
for season 4. There was a lot of
We're also doing
juicy
that.
new details in there that I want to try to go through as fast as possible to give you the update. This assumes that you already know what's kind of going on in season 4 with the itemization changes, the crafting, the new boss.
I see the stat caps.
So I'm
Pause.
not gonna detail
Pause. Okay.
Just to reiterate, to make sure I know what's going on, the stat changes are like we're getting the fewer mods on items. There's like the masterwork thing.
Mm-hmm.
The item. There's also like the drop only mod tier.
Yep.
They removed some of the damage on Tuesday-esque stats
Mm-hmm.
and only kept in the bangers. Maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
The pit is that uncapped?
Yep.
We think.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Um,
It's confirmed
and,
uncapped, and monster scaling has all been reworked past level 100 monsters. So we have no idea what it's like now.
and that still requires a key that you have to farm
A shard.
untradably. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
key by any. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the key from doing Nightmare Dungeons.
From Nightmare Dungeons? I thought it was from
It's Nightmare Dungeon.
Helltides.
It's
Okay, so
both,
they
but you
changed.
get a large quantity from
Okay.
Nightmare Dungeons.
Okay. So
It's Nephilim Rifts and Degrader Rifts.
yeah,
It's copy pasted.
but it's Nephilim Rifts into Greater Rifts, but the Nephilim Rifts, being Nightmare Dungeons, do have a greater purpose of leveling up your glyphs. Now, in D3, the Nephilim Rifts have the greater purpose of Death Breaths, and Death Breaths have a much longer tail than glyph
Nephilim
levels,
Rifts also
because
serve the
you'll
purpose.
finish.
Nephilim Rifts also their
You'll
purpose of pools.
True. You get to the cap of your glyphs at some point, but then you're still gonna have to interact with the Nightmare Dungeon system to get the keys for the pit.
Yeah,
Because the pit is a longer progression top end thing
it's supposed to be a lot of keys though if you can do the highest tier.
of Nightmare Dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, as far as we know, there's still the bossing portion where the Uber Uniques are relegated.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it seems like an okay system wise. We'll see if it has good gameplay when we play it. But so that's the context going in.
It's kind of like what are the important takeaways for people that have already seen it. If you want to see some of the other summaries, I have a bunch of videos. You can also check it on Maxwell and so on. But there was a lot of interesting new stuff here, and the patch notes have also just dropped that are pretty long, that I will go through separately in like a full video as well. But I took a few of the highlights and also packed them into my notes here. So let's go.
Some Path of Exile
So
patch
number
notes.
the season theme. So a lot of people were kind of wondering what's going on there, and indeed we are getting like a very, very small theme, which is basically a season 2 round 2 edition. So this season theme is going to be Iron Walls Reputation System. We have a screenshot of that actually somewhere.
I do think it's okay.
Let me show this.
To just
so
have the loot revamp at this
basically
point.
A copy paste from season 2 with the vampire bounty board or something. And you get a ton of like tempering manuals.
The season theme is get to level 100 really easily because they realize that the game starts at end game.
Some Resplendent Spark. So you get Resplendent Spark from this.
They even said that on their stream, that they realize now that leveling is not the place for the game.
First uber unique just from kind of like playing the game.
It only took them a year.
And then you just need to find one more, salvage one, and you can like craft whatever you want basically. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, overall the season theme is very small. You don't get a power buff like usual, no power power, and they just say that instead it's gonna like juice up your leveling journey. So these rewards here are mostly just like big leveling items or so. Likewise, while they added, the season journey itself is also giving you more stuff compared to before. It seems like more materials, specific items. So we actually have a bit of like similar to like Hades Gift, I guess. Kind of like a combo between legendaries.
Yep, okay.
I know borrowed power gets a bad rap, especially in like World of Warcraft, and I think that's incorrect. I think that borrowed power can be bad, when it's used to fill in fundamental needs of your class slash build. Maybe not necessarily build, because I think that there can be some builds that are created through borrowed power, but there needs to be some base level of functionality to your class where it doesn't feel like it needs the borrowed power in order to function.
Yeah.
And we hopefully are getting to that point with this season not having borrowed power. Hopefully we're to the point where the
Yeah.
classes feel good on their own. And then in the future, I hope that they're not turned off from borrowed power, because I think that borrowed power is really good in a seasonal context. So long as you have the base level there, I think that it's good to have soul shards in
Yeah.
D3,
I don't think
or
they're.
like in Path of Exile, getting like perfect, like the Wildwood ascendancies, or uh, I think that borrowed power can be good. I think it can bring people back. I do think that you have to know when to keep around some aspects of the borrowed power uh, after and make it into the permanent power. But I think that just the whole aversion to borrowed power, I think, needs to be taken
Yeah.
case by case.
I don't think they have an aversion to it here. I literally think they just
Right.
decided not to try to make any because they have their hands full and they probably
I,
barely got this out the door.
I do think it's a good sign that this season doesn't have borrowed power, because
They want to see if the
that
game's
to me,
fixed.
yeah, I want to see if the base level of the characters is good,
Yeah.
and this will do it. So I
It
think it's
is boring though. I'm going for me. It's boring. I was talking about it Irma earlier. It is boring. It does make it seem like I should just wait and play the next season when they've got people have gotten the chance to see how the base game is and then to add a theme on top of it. I do think the theme is what makes seasonal resets interesting, but at the same time, this season is basically the release of the game, so
yeah.
it's they not getting to make borrowed power. I would rather them have actually fixed the base game, got all the bugs ironed out, than make some borrowed power to patch the holes. But it is lame that there is no borrowed power. And to what he's talking about here, they're giving you a set of items at the end of completing your season journey that fit a build. They're giving you Hadrig's gift, but there's no set items.
Right, but
You're just getting all the aspects in the gear.
yeah,
Like you're getting all the aspects in the gear. So like they're basically giving you a Hadrig's gift, but they don't want to call it a set yet? Question mark. Even though it's
yeah.
by a set, the only reason it's not a set is because you can't modify green. Green is apparently bad, even though it's the same thing. It's just orange and you can add stats to it, but you could just add stats to a green item too. I don't know. It's
I
silly.
think that having the illusion of flexibility is somewhat valuable
Yeah, but it is just a
for a
set.
time. Right. Like if there's only one pair of gloves that says Dust Devil, and there's only one chess piece that works with Dust Devil, and there's only one pant that works with Dust Devil, and like that's essentially a set.
Yeah.
But they want to give you the illusion of, well, maybe I'll put in a defensive chest instead of the Dust Devil set or chest.
It's a way to go about it, but we're getting there. I mean, yeah,
So I think the problem with sets, as in Diablo 3, I think there's a lot of good that comes with sets, but the problem with it is that once you put on, say, the shadow gloves, you're gonna fill in the shadow shoulders, the shadow helm, the shadow chest, the shadow pants, the shadow boots. Like it makes a lot of your other gearing decisions like just completely automatically.
yeah,
And there's technically the ability to not automatically make the choices when they're individual legendaries,
yeah. But I think in terms of
even if that doesn't alter them.
ARPG players nowadays, the end is the same, right?
Yeah.
Like it's literally just a placebo. Like it's literally just a placebo allergy to the green color from Diablo 3 on a set. It by all means, it's the same thing.
Yeah. For most people who are just going to max roll and
Yeah,
grabbing their build,
yeah.
like it's essentially just a
And
set.
a set would make it
Which
even
is
better for them, and a player like that would prefer green, even though
it would
they
make it easier to
understand.
identify what they
Yeah.
need, yeah.
Like it's sets are just better. than what we have still.
I also think like one of the benefits of sets is that it allows you to make a cohesive set of
Mhm.
items and make a cool play style
Yep.
because you
We'll
know
we'll
that
get there. We're gonna get.
characters are gonna. Okay,
No, no. I'm like, sorry. I'm saying like in general, like the game will get there, right?
certainly.
Like
Um,
we're close.
yeah, we're getting there.
So Dust Devil stuff for Barbs, Polarize stuff, Minion stuff, Barrage, and Incinerate. So this is kind of what you can expect to get for free, so to say, from just playing through the season journey. But then you can, of course, go to whatever build you want to do. Now, one important change that they're making here is Armor. So we have this here. Armor cap is now 9,230, which is the cap against level 100 monsters. If you didn't know before, the armor cap was 13,300 for
Yep.
tier 100 nightmare dungeons in the past, so way higher than this. And in the pit, it was actually 16,400 or something. And that is now way lower. You only need 9.2k. So
Imagine you can actually get this number on a Sork.
Rogues as well, and
Yeah.
in general, you don't have to go
I
for
think-
like a juggernaut aspect now. You can definitely make setups without it, and it's way easier to get the armor cap. So that's kind of cool. There are some other stat caps here. Cooldown reduction is now 75 capped. Mostly
Mostly these
applies
are
to when you
important
have a
for
channeling
like
shrine, I
making
guess.
the builds.
And area
Yep.
increases are capped at 100%. So you don't have like a frost nova that goes to off screen. You don't have a corpse terminal.
It is
that
crazy.
I
goes
don't know
What-
that I
2 screens away.
necessarily like these, like the area
Yeah,
size
it's
cap.
probably pretty
Yeah.
reasonable. 100% extra is still pretty large though, because it's not actually area size. The way this works in this game is a squared value, because there's actually radius that increases with those
Oh.
affixes, and they seem not to have
Okay.
changed those calculations. So
Actually more
100% extra
impactful than I
area
thought.
size from the affixes is actually quadruple area size. So that's kind
Oh,
of big
okay.
as well. So frost novas are still going to be kind of large. Corpse tenders are still going to be kind
Yeah,
of
but like,
large.
why
but
not
not
just let them be
ridiculous.
ridiculous? Like,
Probably
This
because they're
also
means
means
we
crashing
want
the
to just-
game
nerf to
in the
barbs
open
with
world.
the Dust
Yeah,
Devils,
fair enough.
because they were scaling off their size, and there's also other nerfs to Dust Devils, so they're not going to be like that crazy OP.
Did you
anymore.
see the Dust
So
Devil
speaking
bug?
about those here,
Nope.
Dust Devils, there
It
are
was
various
crashing the
fixes
game.
on them. You spawn fewer of them now, and they
Yeah,
are
I
smaller,
mean,
and they don't do damage.
like all of the
And
balance
we
stuff,
have
it's
like
kind
some
of like
comparison here as well.
it's such a huge
So
reset of
here's
the
like
game that like
PTR versus the live
we're
season
just gonna have
4.
to see what comes out in the
It's just
wash.
like way
it's-
fewer, and they're not that big, and they move faster and disappear faster. There's also a global cap of 15 now that it can spawn at once. So if you do like the triple shout action, for example, you're already at a cap pretty much. So yeah, in general, barbs are not that crazy with the Dust Devils, but it will probably still be worth it to use them, and barbs will remain really powerful. Probably
Nerf barb.
or the best or the second best class, I would say. So just from my initial impressions. Some other interesting stuff here. Fortify is now 50% DR, so I guess that's a buff here. Druid Wolves, 200%
Druid
extra
Wolves,
HP.
okay.
Also,
Wolf build. woo.
spawn 100% faster after death. So wolves are actually kind of a thing now. They are pretty powerful.
Cope.
They just
That's
have an
so
issue that they're
fucking
just
cope.
constantly dying all the time, so that should be much better.
That's cope.
Scoundrel's Kiss is also getting changed. We have that here. So for rogue enjoyers, you can now play ranged rapid fire, and they did mention that it also now works with ricochet, for example, from the aspect, which on the PTR it
Oh,
did
that's
not.
actually good.
And in this clip they showed us it also was not doing that. Maybe they didn't have it, or maybe that was a mistake. I don't really trust it. But either way, you can play a ranged rapid fire still and don't have to go
That's
hard
cool.
monsters. And Mental Surge is getting obliterated, it seems like. We saw one recipe. They didn't give us the numbers here exactly, but we saw this recipe and it went from 16k to 1k on the rare recipe. We
Oh,
haven't seen a legendary one.
they deleted
but
that
it's a
one?
pretty heavy nerf, and I
Oh,
expect
damn.
something similar for the higher version as well. So that means it's pretty much dead, and that's a good thing in my book. More in patch notes. So we have some other stuff down here that I just found in the patch notes. Let's go through that real quick. Razor Blade looks like an insane buff. We don't have the numbers, but they gave like
Thorns
a new affix,
login.
and has it's now master workable. And if you play a Thorns build, that might be really
Wario.
powerful, especially because the defensive loss of Razor Blade is not that big anymore compared to last season. Grenades for some reason got nerfed on the rogue, even though that was kind of like the worst rogue archetype. Anyway.
They nerfed Rogue
kinda funny.
actually in this patch.
Hectic gets a minus 50%. That's
Even though it was
pretty
already the
big,
weakest
but
class.
expected, I guess. Amulets get more all res, rings get more single res. Dust Devils I mentioned. Hurricane is getting an interesting buff here. So they have bug fixed the infinite damage
I
hurricane,
mean,
like
there's
this,
certainly
20
still going to be
billion
something
ticks.
that's bugged
But
and
the
like
actual
does
hurricane
Mondo
build, the
damage.
one that I actually
Yeah.
made a video about
Like
back on the PTR,
all of this balance
is
stuff is just
getting
like
a buff by a substantial amount actually. So that's actually
It's a lot
hopefully
more
you have
changes
some
than they
builds
did
you like.
before.
so people that like Righteous
Yeah.
Fire in PoE or something, that is gonna be pretty nice, smooth build to play. Not necessarily the best, but it's gonna be decent.
Up to spoiler how the Hurricane
Mage
Druid
is
is
getting a bit of
feeling.
a nerf, nothing major. So
This
minion
is gonna be the
necros,
league I play
mages,
Z
and
Druid.
golems in particular are still looking really strong. We don't know about all of the little bug fixes they have done. For example, it was possible to get like, I don't know what, 20 or 25 ranks on this golem passive and stuff. I'm not sure if that is, for example, intended. Or other stuff where, for example, on druids, you had like a clarity ranks as like a resource mod. So that was probably also unintended. And there were like a bunch of like unintended temporary things that are not specifically mentioned. At least I didn't see anything. But I would expect some stuff like this, tread with caution, at least. 100% dodge rogue is dead. Beastfall boots burst is nerfed a lot, so not so easy to do like a one-shot combo. So I guess something like a pure penshot build is kind of dead with that as well. I was thinking maybe couldn't still do that, but not really. Tarasha ring maximum 4 stacks, so you can't abuse like elemental surge, for example, to get more. Gauntlet, that's like a little thing that I just saw there. Bosses no longer drop the shrines after revive. There is a bug
There's still
fix with
Gauntlet
Druid
in the
Spirit
game?
Glyph.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this
Well,
bug.
so
and
resets every
I
week.
guess it has been in the game forever. But Druids basically just get free 10%
Tech W,
damage
I
now
know,
if you
right?
use that glyph, and a lot of builds do. So this is kind of big. And here also sneaky sacred items are now level 35.
Oh
and
yeah,
six
this is the
items are
big
level
change.
55 minimum requirement. So you can
Items
go to
come
the
by
higher
so
world tiers
quick.
way
You can
faster.
level
In
so
general,
fast.
they're trying to speed up the leveling process. You get more XP now in the higher world tiers. You get a lot of XP in the Hell Tides. There's a bunch of extra bonuses basically, and this. So leveling to 100 will be even faster than before, and kind of this is where the real journey starts now. So this is really also what
That's
they
cool.
said in like the
Getting to
Q&A
100
and
faster
stuff.
is
So
good.
they kind of want to
Yep.
push you towards the 100 faster, it seems, just so you can actually explore the post 100 content, which there's a lot of now. Okay, let's go back to up here. So we covered the balance and the bug fixes. So Infinite Hurricane is fixed. Ebon Pierce are lucky hit. And also the Elemental Surge combo with that, I guess, is kind of gone. So you just have to play like a normal Blight build now. Firebolt multi-split. There was a bug where I could split it multiple times by stacking firewalls. That is also fixed.
I mean, there's still gonna be
And probably
something.
a bunch
There's
more stuff there.
no way we don't
They've
get out
got-
of this with
Okay,
no
some
Yeah.
miscellaneous stuff.
It's
So
a lot
white,
better
blue,
now,
yellow
though.
items. People are asking about this
Okay.
all the time. They said that they are looking into updating those at some point to give them some other use cases, but nothing yet. But something that is kind of like separate.
This
from
whole misc
what you
part
do
is
with
actually
items right
fucking
now with, like,
insanely
Infinity,
good.
for example. So we'll see. There is a lot more salvage and materials now to get. So all of this here is pretty big stuff. You get double from sacreds, you get triple from ancestral when salvaging. Legendaries now give back crystals, which usually was just rares.
That's
so you
something they
don't have to
literally
beat up
just
any
took
rares
exact
whatsoever.
feedback on. People said this needs to happen, and they did it.
Cost 16 instead of 75. I think tempering costs have
Pause.
been adjusted massive.
That imprinting cost going from 16 to 75 is nuts.
75 to 16.
75 to 16, yeah, is crazy good.
Working costs have been adjusted, so all the stuff kind of got adjusted. So all the stuff kind of got way easier, way less grindy, and so on. So you can do a lot more of the items that you have. You can imprint
so
your
good.
stuff, you can change your builds. So it's gonna be kind of nice.
Getting closer to the
another
armory,
thing, you can
please.
change your hair in the wardrobe now. And about the greater affixes, we have a screenshot here somewhere. They changed how the greater affixes look. So here's this little star. So that's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I like the
So you can see now
the
that there's a greater
indicators are
affix,
always
and I guess
good.
there'll
We
be
need more
multiple,
indicators.
when you have more,
Their
I
UI
guess.
is pretty
This
good.
is how it looks on the ground.
I like
so
it on the
guess
ground
also
too.
We're gonna see like multiple
Coming from
stars.
Path of Exile.
And here's also how it looks in the inventory.
A
So
lot
it's just
better
like more
UX.
visible. You can immediately identify that an item has a greater affix. So
It's
that's
so
kinda
nice.
cool. Okay, Helltide changes. That is kind of interesting.
I actually think the
So
Helltide
they're basically
is.
making Helltide even better. It was already really powerful.
these
And there's
things.
this item here, the Profane Mind Cage. So you might not have ever seen that because I played the PDR for like 15 hours a day and I did never find this a single time. So
This is such a good
it was
item.
really rare, and now it drops like candy. And unfortunately, it does not
Such a
stack,
good idea.
but you can use it to get like more cinders and increase the monster power a little
You
bit.
use it with
And they said
multiple
that they
people
want
in
to
the
see
party
feedback for
to.
this, and I think something like a stackable mechanic
Because
would be
he
cool
said
in
it
the
doesn't
future, but we'll
stack,
see.
but
Yeah.
For now, this is something that you can find. Baneful
it's an
Hearts
interesting
have
way
a better
to
bad luck
increase
protection. This is
Helltide
the stuff that you need to summon a
difficulty.
Blood Maiden, the new Helltide boss. If you contribute to the Blood Maiden
'Cause
summon,
that's
you
the
get more
problem with open
rewards.
world content.
And in general, she has better loot. It's a pretty long fight most of the time. Some other little changes. Doomsday chest now just gives the loot. Channel time reduced. Lots of improvement. So Helltide is going to be pretty
Isn't
big
party
and
only for the user? Yeah.
pretty rewarding. Okay, masterworking. No more animation for rank 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7, and so on. So you can just kind of click it like the blacksmith upgrades
Pause.
right now. And then
You'll see the wording there. No more fail chance.
There was a fail chance?
Yeah, masterworking had a when you got to a certain level started to have like a 70% chance to fail, and then a
That's
30%,
horrible.
like 70%, and then a 30%, and then yeah, it was honing.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah,
But
it
they're not
was.
doing that?
They took it away. Yeah,
Good.
I mean,
You don't have to have percent chance to fail. Like, especially in a seasonal reset game. Like, just let people
I
gather
think it
the
was
stuff.
fine because it gave you a reason to grind, and it wasn't actually like a ridiculous. You can
You still
infinitely
have a
grind.
reason to grind. You still have a reason to infinitely grind.
You didn't in the PTR because the pit was bugged, and it made it unclear whether or not the game was actually just that easy to outscale.
I mean, so long as, and even if the game is easy to outscale, so long as you can upgrade your items more and more, like there's, I don't know.
There wasn't a reason to upgrade. You couldn't upgrade your items more and more is the thing,
Oh, why couldn't you?
because that's how the items work. You master work and it's done. So like the percent chance to fail gave you like you as it got harder and harder, you would then need to go higher and higher, deeper and deeper into the pit to get the higher tier mats to then go again, and it gave you a reason to keep going back into the pit. Whereas without it,
Just make it cost more. Instead of having a chance to fail,
you can reset
just
the
make
item
it
and start over, I guess, as well.
cost more. I don't know. I don't think that there needs to be percent chance to fail because that just makes it to where you put in your effort, you get your item or you get your materials, and then through no fault of your own, no outplay potential, you just don't win. If they had, like, I would even accept that there is a percent chance to fail, but you could farm an item that increases your chance to succeed, and you can put in enough of it to get to 100%. Like at every single level, there is no level that does not like go low enough on the initial percent that you can't raise it up because you can just keep adding more and more of the protection. Like I would also be okay with that because then if you wanted to gamba, you could, or you could just farm enough to protect it.
You can still fail because you're when you every 4 honing attempts, one of your affixes can essentially crit, and so you basically the end game is just getting crits on the right affixes.
Yeah, but there's no more like chance to not succeed upgrading the
Yeah,
item.
your thing won't crit. One of the only one of the affixes every 4 levels will crit. So that's
Yeah,
how.
that's the gamba now. Instead of double gamble, it's one gamble, which is, I mean, I guess is fine considering that there are still quite a few affixes to mess with. I think it's, I mean, the feedback that they got on the no more fail chance was mixed, and like the fail, sorry, the feedback to how being able to fail upgrading felt was mixed.
Why would anyone think that failing feels good? You ball
It's not
crushing
it's not
weirds.
about that. It's about the duration. It's about the game's. It's about cycle, like the life cycle of the game.
The loop.
Yeah, having a fail chance throws you back into the loop. The reason why it feels bad in Lost Ark is because you can't farm more.
Okay, but you could just have more upgrade levels. Just throw
Yeah,
you back into the loop.
yeah. Like that's
It
also a suggestion.
literally doesn't even matter. By the time you get to like fucking level 100, you're gonna have enough mats to like max out several characters. So
Yeah,
I literally don't care. If they had it or didn't have it, doesn't matter.
yeah. There's a lot of mats.
then the fast animation for 4, 8, and 12, and there's no more fail chance. And it just shows which affix got upgraded. So it's like way easier to go through the entire process, like over and over if you try to hit like a certain stat. Plus the lower cost.
The
will make this
masterworking
much
animation was
more
also
reliable
bugged
to
on the
actually hit,
PTR,
like,
wasn't it? It was
at
like
least 2 out of
scuffed.
3 or even 3 out of 3 somewhat reliably on the items
I wouldn't
with
say
the right stats
bugs,
that you
it's
want to
just
hit.
long.
So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I'll have to
Just
They
play with
rescaled
the
the pit a little bit, so that is interesting.
to
We
play
don't
with the
know how hard
masterworking
it will be,
a
but
bit before I give a
health
final
increases
judgment.
much more
The
post monster
randomness of it
100
doesn't
apparently
seem
throughout
that
the entire
appealing,
game.
but
So this might apply to 9 dungeons as well. They didn't say how much.
I'm interested to see
And
how hard they've made the
I think
scaling,
somewhere else they said in
true.
like an interview that
and the fact that
the
it's actually
monsters will
not
also
capped
scale
anymore.
like above level 199. So this was not actually in the patch notes that I saw now or in this campfire chat, but that might happen. So this means that monsters might do more and more damage. That might get very, very tanky, and potentially level
Big
100
oval
is
cap.
unreachable,
Pog.
but we'll see. So for now,
Do you
they've
just
rescaled the
automatically
mats a
get
little
that?
bit, so you have to go a bit higher to get the higher tier mats. So the
It's not
goal
like blood
is
shards
like
where you
at
have to
minimum
unlock
to
it.
hit like tier
I don't
60
know.
plus, so you can farm the highest mats basically, and then you can convert them into the lower mats and have like all the masterworking stuff unlocked. They raised the obol cap.
Oh wait, they
that's kinda
changed it.
cool,
You can
and
lower,
they also give you
reverse the
obols now
mats
from just
to
completing
lower
pit
tiers,
and 9 dungeons above.
so you don't have to go back and
Plus.
just do
So
T2
everything level
tier
100 plus
stuff.
monsters
No,
basically
that
gives you
was
obols now.
always
They
the
didn't say how
thing.
much, but I
Oh,
guess
it
it scales
was?
up a bit.
Okay.
That's kind of cool, and obols are
It's
pretty
very,
valuable
but
now,
it's
I guess.
fucking stupid because
Attacks are cleared after boss kill, that's cool.
you have to
Party has got a huge buff in the pit
use
now,
the
so
new
previously there was
mats,
only
the better
100% mats
mats,
distributed between
to
the party.
then
Pausing.
take it. If the then standard, you have to use your new tier 3 with essentially the better mats, downgrade them to tier 2 and tier 1 to re-upgrade your weapon, your whatever, your gear, and you had to go to a fucking vendor, buy, trade the things in, then open the boxes, then pick them up, and it's just pointless. Just have the same material.
That does seem a little bit annoying. Hope maybe they've made some changes to the open pickup vendor cycle. That does seem kind of cringe.
Have the same material. I don't understand.
I guess I just wanted to
The-
feel like you're progressing. So I could just up the mat cost at tier 3 instead of making 3 different types of mats.
You'll hate it when you see it.
Doesn't sound like the best. I know what you think, Persicity. You like 3 separate tier of mats or just one mat that suits all?
I think that if you can have some amount of conversion up and down baseline, it can be good to have different tiers of mats. And then here's the kicker: if the mats are tradable. Because if there's some level of baseline that you can just go to a vendor and trade, it means you don't have to interact with the trade economy. But if the mats are tradable, then you could specialize yourself into being a tier 1 go fast Giga Chad, a tier 2 go medium Giga Chad, or a tier 3 slog Giga Chad. And then there would be a use for each of these levels, and then you could trade to try and like have people be specialized into their different farming strategies. Are these mats tradable?
I don't know, but
I don't think
it's
they were on the PTR.
the tier 3 mats. Get tier 3 mats is like literally doing a nightmare tier 100 dungeon. It is so easy. So I don't even see the. I just don't see the point at all at a system
Well,
map.
you'd
Just
have to
why have.
in that paradigm, you'd have to also balance it to where there is reason to have different builds to do different
And they also
tiers. But if that's not the case, where you just if it is the case where tier 3 is still just the zoom go fast be giga blaster, like whatever level of investment you just work up to it, like you arrive at tier 3 at the level of investment you need to crush tier 3, you don't have to build up to it, then I don't think there's a reason to have multiple tiers.
It's even dumber because the new mats convert. So the new mats convert better. So it's better to do the new stuff because they give you more of the old stuff. So it's even stupider.
Yeah, you'd have to make it to where it's not just clearly more efficient to farm a higher tier, because there's just no purpose to having the different tiers if it is always the most efficient to farm the top tier.
yeah, they're just hanging on to they're hanging on to like the progression through world tier kind of thing, because like it seems like you're supposed to do T1 pit at the same point that you do 1 through 29 nightmare dungeons. They're basically keeping it 1-to-1 with like early game, but tier 3 is equivalent to a 60 is equivalent to a nightmare dungeon 100, which is a thing that you do at the end of, when you're also like around, or supposed to be getting around a level 90, 100 character. So it just seems like they're still trying to keep on to that, like, oh, you can do this system as you level, and haven't fully abandoned the 1 to 100 just being something that you blitz through to then experience the end game fully. It seems like a waste. I don't see why there are these lower tier mats at the tiers they've described them at. That, or this would make more sense also if the pit just started at level 100, but it doesn't.
I thought the pit started at level 100.
No, it seems like
But-
it looks like it's 60 is equivalent to it. Or, well, 60 is equivalent to a Nightmare Dungeon 100, which is equivalent to monster level 160. So I guess technically the pit does start at level 100, but Nightmare Dungeons also start at that point, right? So Nightmare Dungeons start at level 50. It's like an in between, not really, kinda. Yeah, the triple tier of mats thing just seems like a waste of brain power, especially if the way they interact with them is to do a mat vendor juggling, where I have to keep picking up stuff off the ground to then recycle it to the vendor. That seems kind of cringe. The bigger obol cap is kind of cool though.
I think the different tier of mats as a concept could work, but I mean, it depends a lot on what exists around it.
I think it would be better though, and just more simple for everybody involved, if you just have it be one type of mat and the cost goes up every time you go up a tier, quote unquote. Like, you don't have to have 3 separate types of distinguishable mat. You could just have the cost be the distinguishing factor between the tiering.
Well,
Which-
also, so like it sounds like it is always the most efficient to just go as high as you can at some speed, but there could be, with the tiering of mats, you could imagine a meta where like you make a level 29 or a pit 29 farmer,
Yeah,
where you're still getting the T1 mats, because the T1 mats are useful to then trade to people, and like that character doesn't require as much investment, can be built in a different way because you're not doing as high of content. And then you could be a tier 59 farmer or a T whatever 100 something farmer,
yeah,
and like you can imagine different builds being good at these different tiers,
Yeah.
and the mats being good for them. But if it is always just the most efficient to be a T60 farmer, T60 plus, because it converts at a better rate than you'd be able to farm at a lower tier, then it falls apart.
yeah. Also, the game just doesn't have that diversity of build. Like, you're just not going to get that.
You also just can't have different builds because they're armory. So
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You also have to reroll a character every time you want, so that's also
it's
not
something that
healthy.
you could imagine building into.
It's something that I could
It's a
imagine in Path
system
of Exile.
structure. Well, yeah. Well, in Path of Exile, I would expect it to be done through different systems. Whereas this is just a singular system that could facilitate differing levels, which is more the Diablo style of like, are you going to be
Are you going to do 110s? Or are you going to...
110s? Are you going to do 130s? Are you going to do 150s to get your XP?
Yeah, but now it's just, are you going to do 60s? Are you going to do 100s? Or are you pushing deep? They basically just, the starting tier 2 match just don't have to exist, because like the builds are still going to do different tierings in there. It's just that no build that anybody's going to actually play worries about doing anything below a 60 anyway, so why do you have it?
I guess, but like that's a balancing thing. It's also a balancing thing to say that if your tier 3 mats can be gotten and then converted into tier 2s more efficiently, then you can just do tier 2s. Then that's a problem.
Yeah.
That is like, or it's not necessarily a problem, but it stops that system from working.
They're basically leveling materials.
That way.
T1 and T2 mats are basically just, if you want to, you do the system while you're advancing.
But you still need T1 and Tier 2 materials later on?
Yeah.
Else why would you convert them?
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I'm saying, is
Well,
they're stepping stones.
Yeah, but
They're stepping stones that literally, you
that you eventually get to leap over, but like
Yeah.
fiddly leap over. You leap over it, and then you like break your ankle when you
Yeah, they're
fall.
basically wasted space, is what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
They're wasted space, and they're going to be a headache. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the system that they go into though is actually good, so
Yeah.
that's fine. If we could just make the mats not, I don't know, just one tier, one size fits all here. This is a one size fits all system, and it would just work.
That
Like
seems like it.
they're trying to make the game way more casual and way more like just no headaches. Here's the game. Here's
Well,
the end game. Do your thing.
I
Like
could see the idea of you don't want someone to come in to play the season or the game and feel like they're not interacting with the new stuff immediately. I think that is one of the things that they've done fairly well with the seasons that we've gotten is that the season theme is present throughout the entire process, and uh, I think that that's a good thing. I think that or I think that it can create problems if that is a persistent issue to the end game, or if you're like hampered by its interwovenness to the early parts. But that's a problem that is somewhat easily solved. But I think it is a good design goal to have people be able to interact with the what is essentially the season theme, but like the gearing and like the complexity of it early on. Maybe not the complexity of it, but to see the system early, I think is good. What is bad is having that hamstring you later. It also, I think, could be argued that it is fine to have um, you not interact with the season or with this system or any system. This system is what we're talking about now. It is fine to say you don't interact with the system until end game. At which point, like, why are we not just spawning you in at level 100? I think would be the next step there, which I could see feeling that having these systems be something that you interact with throughout the leveling process gives more of a reason to not just have you spawn in at level 100, which is something I don't think they want to do.
yeah, but
And
like
it's also something I don't think they should do.
you can also just you can also just have all this stuff interactable and everything like that, and just have one type of mat. Again,
Yeah.
one size can just fit all. Like you don't. They literally like you just keep it simple. Like that's their whole goal with when they talk about the live stream is they want to make things approachable and understanding. Like they want things to be clear. But then they
I
have
could also
something like
see
this where it's not
it
unclear.
feels like it gives a feeling of like you've graduated to the next thing. Like
Yeah.
that's what world tiers do, so
Yeah, and
it
that's what
sort of
sacred
emulates that.
ancestral. Yeah, but I think that they could just abandon, like they already are kind of abandoning that, right? By making those things accessible early and really upgrading their chance.
Yeah.
I
Also,
think
like,
that they could just get rid of it. Like it's placebo, right? Like it's nothing but placebo.
right.
Like it actually doesn't matter unless the placebo is carrying that hard, but I don't think it is. I think they're going to start. I think that it will start out like this with the three tiers of mats, and I hope if they are trying to do their new thing of listening fast and responding accurately, that by season 5 it will already have changed. I hope.
I definitely think just one tier of mats is good.
I do think this next part is cringe though about the opener getting 100% of the mats and then all the other guys getting 50% only.
Yeah, it's very clear what Wudi's perspective is of calling group members leechers. What the fuck? I'm a valuable member of the team.
I'm pretty sure
I'm not
most of their
leisure with you.
feedback was only the opener should get mats.
That's bad. I don't know. I think that group play is difficult to balance, both in terms of
But like, why do you
the
need to
power
balance?
of group play, but also in terms of the rewards that group gets. I think there needs to be some efforts to balancing it
Well,
both in terms of the power of group play and in terms of the rewards that group play gets. But in balancing it, what I mean there is group play needs to have some amount of incentive, some reward to it, because the game is more fun to play as a group.
Yeah,
Now, I do recognize that it can't be far and away better than what you can achieve solo, because then
yeah,
because most of the game is played solo or in very small parties,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't know, it seems hella punishing to, instead of going into your own separate instances and getting 200%, now you are only getting 150. And like there can be some efficiencies earned from adding additional power of group, but
But there's no. That's not how this game
I don't know
scales,
that
though.
it's
There's also
yeah.
like you're not farming for anything that like it's not the stuff isn't tradable. Like there's no economy going on here. The game's not an open economy. Like there's no economy going on here. There's no leaderboard pushing going on here. Like there's literally no incentive to playing in a group ever.
Yeah, I think that there if group were more powerful and more
You are more powerful. That's not a
effect,
question.
like if you were more powerful and got the same amount of stuff, then I think that there would be some FOMO from solo Andes that they're not being as efficient,
They're
to
not
which I say
thinking.
fuck them.
They're not thinking though, because they're actually not. Because you're using six
Yeah,
people's time instead of one. It's the same
exactly.
thing about why PoE guys don't. And PoE is an open economy, but they still don't understand. It
Yeah,
again. It's the
you have to
placebo of.
divide up
It's the
the
placebo of. Oh my god! It looks better because there's more people there, not realizing that more people there is already an opportunity cost of its own.
yeah. We could
It's
just be in our own
yeah. It's
maps.
crazy, but like they're in Diablo 4 especially. There's literally no incentive to play in a group. You are
Yeah,
stronger. It could be more fun for the people
I
who
don't know about
enjoy
that.
that activity, but there's literally you are not net gaining anything, even if it was 100% loot to everybody. You're not net gaining anything that is going to ruin the experience of a solo player, which
I
is
think certainly
super
that's not
silly.
going to ruin their experience. I think you do gain a little bit because if you are more powerful in a group, which I you don't get that much more powerful in a Diablo 4 group than you do in, say, a Path of Exile group or a Diablo 3 group, but you do certainly get some amount more powerful, and therefore uh, the biggest thing is that it doesn't like
There's
hurt.
no output.
You
You're
don't
not
have to.
outputting anything.
Yeah, you're not ruining the game for anyone else. Like you can just be in your own lane,
Yeah.
moisturized, unbothered.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that 50% is way too punishing for group play, but I'd have to play it to know for sure. But 50% is seems crazy.
yeah.
It was worse, but sure, yeah, this is better. This is the buff, by the way.
I thought it
I
was
mean,
it was it. Wait, was it really
It
less than
was
50%?
it was like 50% to the leader, and then the
Oh.
rest of the 50 was split between the three
Oh.
others
Okay. Yeah, that's
on
dog.
PTR or on live.
on PTR. So yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So you could literally just make more mats going solo than that's group.
This is a very big improvement, but yeah, I think it could still just go to 100 to everybody.
yeah. Like I guess the biggest downside to 100 to everyone is leechers, of like if you are just big powerful strong man, you could like drag in like
I will go to already
low
respond to this
people,
with and question mark.
and yeah, it's like I don't know, like the downsides don't seem like that much of a downside.
If anything, that's an upside
Yeah,
because it stirs an economy out of a system that doesn't have an economy,
and makes it to where you're incentivized to be strong enough to carry other people. Like
and also
I
lets
don't know,
other people get into the system because they can get power.
yeah,
And then I don't.
it
It's
just seems
it just seems this just seems like a again. It seems like the devs are scared of they're scared maybe not because maybe they understand why it's not a bad thing, but they're scared because they don't want the community's placebo of group play to I don't even know how that can even work because they literally designed an open world MMO ARPG. Like I don't get it. It's dumb. Like in the system of the game they designed, all of the users should be understanding of this, but yet there's people crying every patch note for SSF mode.
which
I
I think
don't
they could add.
it but it's not in the vision of the game they made.
That's
Like,
for sure.
like it's literally, what is that word? Antithetical to the thing they made.
Yeah,
Like,
but
to
like,
everything they have said and done, it is the opposite. And every time
yeah,
they have made a change for a solo Andy in this game, it hasn't worked so far. It has been bad because it's not the type of game they made. They made a casual game to play with, to find other people and play with other people. Like that's the whole point. That's the whole vision.
yeah. But if that's not what people want, then I think being willing to compromise on the vision is good.
Yeah, but it's what they
But
bought the game for.
sure, well, I don't know. I think being willing to compromise on the vision is good to some extent, and but I also think that it's important to, as much as I love to sit here and saying, well, you could do the system this way by adding an economy. Uh, it is good as a developer to have your own vision, have your own thoughts of the art you want to create, and then work towards that. You know, everything requires compromise, but I do think that it is good to have your own ideas and like not just bend to community will at everything. As much as I would like you to bend to my community will, but 50% is ridiculous.
Yeah. If it's
Bend to my
if
will
it's
in this week,
if it's an
100%.
improvement for the PTR, which reports and it is, that's hopefully it'll feel better and they'll continue to improve it.
Members. Now it's 100% to the opener and free 50% for everyone else. It's kind of big. So party play, party leeching, and all that stuff is going to be pretty huge, I guess. To just mega farm those mods if you want, and no more artillery.
I
boss fights,
disagree with
right?
the
So you can't just use
sentiment
the
of
boss fights, for
huge.
example.
Like you have to
That's
look
kind
at
of a
the
cool change. I
alternative,
like
which is
this.
that if you just open 2, you get
90 dungeons, you
200%.
get 25% more
Yeah,
good
he's not
XP.
thinking like that, though.
Moonshots drop more and more in higher dungeons.
Yeah, he's
Moonshots
thinking of
are
it
what
as
you
leechers.
require for the pit, in case you're not aware. So you can probably just do like one dungeon run and then get a bunch of them and do like a few pit
I think the
runs.
number dungeon changes are
Also,
good.
like, we don't really know, but
I do think
apparently
the
on the
Nightmare dungeons are
on
a better
PTR the
Nephilim Rift system
cost was
than
like too low,
Helltides.
so there might actually be like
Yeah.
downtime between pit runs to some degree, but we'll see. If you can do like the pit in any like real capacity, like 60 plus for example, then you can easily run T100 dungeons and you can probably get like multiple shards pretty fast and then do a bunch of runs. It's basically like Nephilim Rifts now and Greater Rifts in the free with the keys. Okay, boss ladder. So that's kind of cool. They are
Nephilim
giving
Rifts
us 5 times the loot for 3 times the cost now. So those tormented bosses are basically the way to go now.
It was
So
5
you
times the
have to make
cost
your
for
character
5
ready
times
for
the
those
loot.
as soon as possible, and then farm
Right?
the tormented
Now
versions
it's
No
because it is
reason
so
to.
much more rewarding.
now it's 3 times
They
the
need
cost
2
for 5
Stygian
times the
stones
loot.
and you
I
get
think
them in the
I
pit
think
quest,
that's a
and
lot
then
better.
the normal materials
Yeah,
times
that's
3.
actually makes it
And
worth
the
doing.
same applies for
Yeah.
party play, of
Or
course.
like,
So if you do
now
rotations,
why
that
even
is
do the
really impactful.
Yeah.
Normal.
And all bosses
Yeah,
are
this is
100%
You
what
see the
super
normal
unique,
as a stepping
and
stone
they're
to
also
the.
rebalancing some of those. They didn't say
actually
exactly how
pause.
much.
This is
Probably.
Irma doesn't know this, but this is literally the idea they just tried for PoE and it didn't work.
Yeah.
They tried in PoE to do the same thing, reduce the to make people have a stepping stone to farm between Uber and normal versions of bosses, only to break the whole system and have Uber bosses be the only viable thing, but like not feel viable to farm because it's so much effort. I'm hoping that they're reducing of the X5 cost. I mean, it's clear though that it's called the boss ladder. Like the only thing you're gonna do is these tormented bosses. Like it's not gonna be worth your time to ever do the normal version of the boss, even if you're progressing your build, which I think is bad because that means if you want to play a build that needs a unique, you are going to just instead have to play another build until you can farm that out.
Yeah.
Which I think is a failure. I think that is the reason why Uber boss unique only drops are a failure in
I think.
Diablo 4. They are not if they're not tradable, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think they need to be tradable. Also a solution is to have different loot pools between, instead of just Xing up the rewards, just have different loot pools.
Yeah, but that still doesn't solve the problem. You're going to always a player is always going to shoot to the thing that says 5x reward.
I mean, if you need a Tempest Roar, or I don't even know the names of items anymore. If you need the helm that makes your build come online, then maybe you do the lower one so that you can try and
Now you're just
do
going to
the
follow the
easier.
max roll guide of
Yeah.
the hurricane build that you place until you can drop the thing, and that basically makes the other build not relevant. Like it's not league start viable. Like we're getting to the point where with these boss ladder thing, I think we're gonna start seeing like like season start viable build versus second build of thing, which I mean some people might like. I think it's a sign of a failed system.
I think it's good to have league start viable builds and non-league start viable
Okay,
builds.
but not lock behind a boss only drop.
Yeah, if the boss drops are tradable, yeah.
Like it's the start of an idea, but it's like if they just don't let go. Like I mean, we are getting the huge improvement of Ubers. Are this is the first time unique, right? Are droppable, are tradable. That's cool. I enjoy that, but like I just wish I could get the Uber unique because there's already crafting. Like once you craft on the item, you can't trade it. And ask Irma if that's true. You still can't trade after you craft on them, right?
I never tried. Well,
Mm.
you never played PTR, so I could never try it. So fuck you.
My fault, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
I,
I'm going to
I
assume
hate-
that items, once they have been touched by the crafting of any sort, are still untradeable. I'm going to assume that items being untradeable makes this feel crap. Did you try to kill any bosses of the enhanced variety during the PTR?
No, because you never fucking played, and I never had enough mats. So fuck you.
Okay. So this, to be clear, this thing of 2 stones, you can only get the stones from the pit, right?
Stones?
You need 2 stones to summon the boss plus the original mats, correct? Because it says 2 stones and 3x mats. And I thought the stones were something you got from the pit. So you still need to farm the like regular Duriel mats and get these rocks?
I don't. Honestly never did the boss. Didn't really track the boss system because it's cringe.
That still seems a little bit cringe to me. I don't know. I don't want to have to do a boss, dude. I don't want to farm Duriel mats to kill Duriel ever. Like not even one time. Like I don't even want to fight him.
I mean, you're probably gonna have to do the boss if you want the frozen orb thing. Amulet.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's an Uber drop?
I'm back.
No, it's not an Eva, but it's one of the bosses. It's in that loophole, one of them.
Okay, but if it's not an Uber unique, I can still just buy it. Because only Uber uniques are untradeable. Maybe.
You want to buy shit off this game with its fucking trooping and 200. There, you have to buy things at fucking gold cap. You want to buy shit? Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully they fix the do big bugs so we can actually have a functional sort of economy. Yeah, I'm interested though as to how hard these stones are to get. Because it needs 2 stones. Because like before it was a stone and 5x of the mat. That's what I thought it was. Now it's 2 stones and 3 of the mat for 5 times reward. I still find that weird. Like, how common are the stones?
You need graded stones?
I don't recall anybody ever attempting to do that in the PTR streams I watched. They were trading the normal mats, but not the stones. I'm going to assume the stones aren't. So, like, true, you can just go buy the mats to summon the boss if you can farm the stones.
Yeah, but then you have to fight the boss,
Yeah.
which might not be what you want to do with your time.
And they've also reworked the bosses to make them all harder, which
And I'm
for
not
some people would enjoy that, but to me, I don't really care. They're just not interesting boss fights.
even if the bosses were cool and interesting, fun to do, it wouldn't. That's not what's at issue. What's at issue is being able to choose what content that you do.
Yeah, and also having completely build enabling items locked behind something that you can't trade.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like locking build enabling items behind obscure chances and just gambling is like something from it's a holdover from Diablo 2 that worked at the time, but that's because that was the only content you could produce back then. That was the content. Was the unidentified drop rate and just fishing for an item to maybe make a build work. There wasn't a bigger the games weren't broader. It was narrow scope. But now games are broad enough and can be like you can have enough activities that this doesn't need to be forced.
But they specifically called out my feedback by name in the campfire chat, saying that they have rebalanced those bosses. And that means most likely Zia is going to be a lot harder, and
He wanted them to be a lot
maybe
harder.
Kugar as well, and maybe in general all the bosses might be a bit harder because they were kind of
Yes.
pushovers for good builds. So we'll see exactly what will happen. Sorry guys, but yeah, I expect that in general those tormented bosses are somewhat more high end now.
I think
So
it is
this
good to
what I
have
would expect here. We'll see.
content that is
then we have, okay, this is already
Pinnacle
covered, the
and
season journey
challenging.
legendaries. Something
that
that was not in patch notes that I have
having
not seen, and
untradeable
that was
stuff
not mentioned
behind
in
it is
campfire
not
chat,
good.
so I don't know.
I'm
But
interested in
there is
this.
basically
If this still
kind of like
works, this looks
infinite
really fun.
Hell-tide monster
people do it.
spawn strategy where you just stack up with multiple people in the same place, and then this Helltide
This looks
threat meter
really
spawns
fun
monsters,
on the
and then
BTR.
that
People
fills
doing the
someone
group
else's
Helltide
threat
farming
meter,
with
and
max threat.
then they spawn monsters, and you can
Like
kind
it
of
was actually just like a
loop
hordes of
monster
monsters coming at
spawns
you.
for,
It
like,
looked
the
really
entire
cool.
Helltide. We'll see how this will play out exactly, if that was addressed in any way, but that was something that was possible on the PTR.
I really hope it
We'll
stays,
see.
or at least something
It would
like
be-
it.
Yeah, and that also
It would be good for them to be able
well,
to
Klaus already
utilize their
notes here that
open
I have,
world
actually.
to,
So, is
or I
anything
guess
else that I
not
missed here?
necessarily. They're
From chat maybe. Otherwise, I guess
Group,
this is a little summary here. As I said, I will
being
go
able to
through
come
the patch
across
notes.
randoms.
I'm doing this now basically on stream, but not for this video. But I will like skim through this and go through every line and see if there's anything that we missed, anything important. And of course, there's going to be a lot of builds, a lot of guides, and so on that we'll be putting out in the next 2 weeks until launch. Launch is on the 14th of May, and it's looking really good. So I'm very excited for this.
Okay, I think that's the end of his
Does
video.
look good. Okay.
I was there for this part of the stream. I remember. I'm surprised he kept this in the video. Good video. Good video. We like these.
Like the video.
But that
Subscribe to Wudi Joe.
I don't know. I think most of the changes are good. Like everything is good about this season. Like it's all better than it was before, but is it perfect?
Everything is an improvement. Do they still have a ways to go?
I mean, this is basically this season's only addressing loot concerns.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
addressing
not
loot
even all of
concerns
them.
while adding. It's the pit is basically something to progress through to utilize their new loot rework.
Yeah.
Whether it actually is a good in-game system is.
We'll see. I mean, it's essentially just greater rifts, which we know are a good system, even down to needing a key. Which
Yeah, but are there activities inside of the pit fun enough? Like, and will they keep advancing them, or will they just try to make another system?
I don't know.
I think everything revolving loot is basically really good. I think Tippering's cool. I think Masterworking's cool. I think that the like we talked about, the splitting up of the mats is cringe. It's just cringe. And I'm hopeful they'll just, change it quickly. I do think overall a lot of good direction for the game. I'm interested in playing Frozen Orb Sork and Meteor Sork.